Combat tricks are bad in Commander. Or so they say. However, I've got a card here who very much begs to differ. Sergeant John Benton is a legendary 3-mana Selesnya human soldier 2/4 with trample and haste, who, upon dealing combat damage to a player, lets both you and them draw cards equal to the damage dealt. So yes, after a brief respite, I am once again delving headfirst into the well of jank that is Doctor Who, and oh boy do I have a doozy for you today. You see, on his face here, Sergeant Johnny Boy seems like a nice little placid group hug card handing out cards to other people and yourself at the cost of a little damage. And to be fair, he does also work in that context. But I'm bringing him to all of your attention today because he has quite a unique strategy developed around him being in the zone. See, Big Jonathan over here really wants to draw cards, and a lot of them, and thus that means he wants more and more power. But how to buff his power? Well, generally one would look at equipment or auras, standard Voltron fare. But John wants to start drawing cards quickly and also, being a very commander-focused strategy, get back to swinging and drawing quickly if he pops his clogs. And in that regard, auras are just a bit too frail, falling apart at removal, and equipment is just too mana-intensive. So where does that leave us? We need a way of buffing power on a single creature, for a low mana cost, and that doesn't care about removal. I don't know why I'm being coy about this, it's combat tricks, I said it right in the intro. That's right, Sarge here loves a good giant growth, and he makes for a very interesting deck because of it, and a scary one at that. Picture this. You're being attacked by a simple 2/4, you declare no blocks because of trample, and then suddenly, before damage, it gets hit with a trio of growths, giant, titanic, and mutagenic to make its power 11. And now sure, while you draw 11 cards, so do they. And their deck is built to take advantage of this massive draw, and you've just taken half of your commander damage allowance from John. Truly terrifying. Out of nowhere KOs that John can pull off are absolutely astounding, and it honestly starts to play mind games with your opponents. Oh, and don't get me started on giving this lad double strike. Not only is it basically doubling his power, but because it's 2 attacks, you draw after the first one, and then you get an opportunity to use your freshly drawn cards to buff him even more before the second. And this isn't even the best part to me. Do you want to know what is? The sheer amount of weird jank crap you end up playing in this deck. I mean, what other decks out there are playing Rustler Rampage, Inner Calm Outer Strength, and goddamn Scent of Ivy, let alone having them as some of the best and most overpowered haymakers in the list? And this kind of overall weirdness extends to more of the other basic facets of the deck, the building blocks like ramp, removal, and recursion. After all, who needs an Eternal Witness to grab one thing back from your graveyard when you can use a Nostalgic Dreams, discard a load of Drek you've just drawn that you don't need, and bring back some of your most powerful cards from the graveyard, or just pretty much all your graveyard instead? And why would I play, say, a Farewell, when I could be playing single combat, keeping John around, and then locking everybody else to a single creature for a turn cycle? And then there's the ramp, which weirdly is somehow the most non-standard part of it all, as it's all designed around both getting John down on turn 2, and still helping late into the game if it's drawn off of a combat draw. Yes, that does mean like a lot of 1-mana dorks, but also instead of your standard land ramp, Johnny here prefers a Skyshroud Ranger or a Sakura Tribe Scout, which can help get extra land drops for turn 2, John, and throw down excess lands that you draw for big swings later on. This deck is even desperate enough for a turn 2 commander that Elvish Spirit Guide and Crop Rotation for Hickory Woodlot or Remote Farm are on the Bleed and EDH rec page. That's going granular, my guy. And yeah, this thing is a weird and wonderful pile of forgotten commons and cardboard garbage that can drop a player in one shot. And I think that's just poetry in motion. It's outstanding, effervescent. This card is actually reasonably popular as well compared to most of the stuff I show off here, but honestly, I just really wanted to highlight the brilliant strangeness of the deck building you find around this guy, and how it goes to show that you really can play any card you want in Commander, You just need to find its friends first. Oh, and if you want to be spectacularly irritating to your playgroup, if you're playing this guy, play the crawlers as well. Scrolling and Psychosis. You can thank me later.